manufacturing and flight test support for High Sentinel 80. And then, may Japan. No? Here comes Japanese technology. They called it as Stratospheric Platform, SPF, airship, or the JAXA. So this is the image of Japan. Parang mahilig sila sa whaling. So parang the image turned out to be like a whale. No? Feasibility studies of the Japanese stratospheric platform began in 1998. But it all lasted for 18 months only under the leadership of the National Aerospace Laboratory. And currently, kasi dati pangalan niyan is NAL, currently the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or the JAXA. The objective of the technology was to develop a system based on a large unmanned airship able to maintain position about 20 kilometers altitude. Mukhang papunta na sa HAPS. And the purpose of this is application for future telecommunications, including Earth observation sciences. The planning was for an 8 years development. Yan, ito yon. Parang whale. The stratospheric airship. Okay? By the way, kanina Japan yun eh. Ito pala, sorry. They also called it stratospheric airship, but this is being developed by Korea, similar to Japan. The Korean stratospheric airship program started in December 2000 and was planned to be developed in a 10-year term, so 2000 to 2010. No? The ultimate goal of the program was a 200-meter-long airship with a total weight of 22 tons, with capacity to hold position at 20 kilometers altitude. Possible applications, of course, intended for communication relay and ground observation. And the project got a support from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Energy. Ito, the technology became lighter. The first light, no, parang lighter in terms of weight. Tinatawag ito na Zephyr, no? Zephyr 7 unmanned aerial vehicle, also known as Kinetic Airbus. The development of Zephyr solar high altitude unmanned aerial vehicle family began in 2001. 9 years later, the Zephyr 7, developed by British company Kinetic, established the current flight endurance record of 336 hours and 21 minutes, or about 14 days, flying at about 18 kilometers altitude on a U.S. Army test range in Yuma, Arizona. It has a 23-meter wingspan, 55 kilogram weight, and 5 kilogram payload. So 55 plus 5, that's 60. Has 2 propellers driven by electric motors and uses the energy from solar panels during the day and lithium sulfur batteries at night. So the beginning of the war on the kind of batteries, no? Batteries that can last longer in terms of, in terms of charging, it should be shorter, but in terms of discharging, it should be longer. Okay? And then, kanina, this is Zephyr, no? 7, meron ding Zephyr T. And again, developed by Airbus. And this was developed in 2013, currently by Airbus Defense and Space. And it was purchased, after that, it was purchased by Kinetic, Airbus. Formerly, they call it Zephyr 8. This is a developed version to Zephyr 7. Pero pinalitan nila ang pangalan as Zephyr 7. Zephyr 10. As T pala, sorry. So, again, keeping the payload at about 5 kilograms, but with greater autonomy by the use of new solar cell. Kaya this is a fight of batteries. Just like in cars, no? Electric cars. This is a technology who has a better in terms of battery utilization. A future version, the Zephyr 7, dalawang tail, will have a payload of 20 kilograms. So this is an upgraded version from 5 kilograms to 20 kilograms with an increase in the wingspan. The flight testing of scale model of Zephyr T began in 2016. Kaya ang mga ECE, hindi lang pala tayo sa ground, no? We might have a greater influence up above the sky. So, mga possibility horizon is becoming broader and broader because once this will be introduced later on, as we are going to discuss about the HAPS, there will be opportunities for ECEs again. Para na rin tayong pilot. Kasi pilot, kailangan ng tao, kailangan ng aeronautical engineering. Pero meron pala tayong, pag sinasabing unmanned, that is within the practice of or the expertise of ECEs. Galing, no? Now, HALD, the HAA program, developed by Lockheed Martin. Ito, parang balloon siya, just like in Raven in 1970. And again, this is developed by the U.S. Army. And they call it U.S. Army High Altitude Airship. And it was initiated in 2002, was to develop an operating system based on high altitude airship, able to carry, medyo mabigat, 900 to 1,800 kilograms. Ang altitude niya is 20. You might wonder, why 20? And we will be discussing it later. Bakit 20 kilometers from the ground? Baka magbangga sa commercial traffic area ng mga planes, no? It has a payload of 36 kg. Medyo mabigat, no? It was designed to maintain a flight at 18 kilometers altitude for 2 weeks. The first and only HALD flight was held in 2011. Pag sinasabing first and only, wala nang kasunod. So meaning, it doesn't reach the intention or the goal of its development. Ngayon, dahil hindi nga siya medyo natupad yung intention on why it was invented, nagpalabas sila ng integrated sensor, IS structure or ISIS airship, again by Lockheed Martin. This is a joint US Air Force and Defense Advanced Research Project Agency or DARPA that started in 2004 with the aim of integrating a large radar in the structure of high-altitude unmanned airship. But again, hindi maganda ang nangyari. The program was closed in 2015. Now comes the... Sandali ha. Baba natin itong iba. Now comes the Solar Eagle or the Vulture program. Developed by Boeing, no? Solar Eagle, then together with Lockheed Martin and Aurora Flight Systems. Ito yon, parang Vulture nga. Nakakatuwa ang design. Mukhang weird, but the purpose of this is again for communication. Okay, the Solar Eagle is known as the very high altitude, ultra endurance, loitering, theater, unmanned reconnaissance element, or the Vulture program, in coordination with DARPA, had the purpose of developing a high altitude airplane with ability to remain in flight for 5 years with a payload of 454 kg that consumes about 5,000 watts. This platform would be employed in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance and communication mission. But this is all intended for military use. Now, again, after that, there is one technology tinatawag nilang Stratobus. Stratobus airship by Thales Alenia Space. Studies of the technical concept and business model of Stratobus started in 2010. The Stratobus is a stratospheric unmanned airship about 100 meters long with 33 meters diameter and a total weight of less than 5,000 kilograms with 250 kilograms and 5,000 watts available for payload. Again, the operating altitude is about 20. This allows a reduction in the size compared to the previous invention. Also protects the solar cells from degradation caused by stratospheric environment. Para siyang gondola, allowing the airship to rotate for a better sunlight harness. And during the night, the electricity will be provided by radio frequency. Now, papunta na tayo, which is quite in the news because Google is actually planning to have this, no? Tinatawag nilang Project Loon or Loon, no? Three balloons of the Project Loon by Google. Project Loon by Google started in 2012. You are hearing about this Google. Nag-umpisa pala sila in 2012. And the objective is to create a network of stratospheric balloons to provide internet access to remote areas. So that's the objective of Google. Each balloon, kasi tatlo sila, is the super pressure type with 15-meter diameter. The altitude control is performed by adding or removing the air inside the balloon with the use of fan. So meaning, pwedeng i-reverse, pwedeng ipasok. No? Depende on the kind of environment. Siguro ito, it's a auto mechanism through a sensor. The flight altitude is again 20 kilometers from the ground, lasting up to 100 days. Medyo tumagal na, no? Kasi dati 14 days, although merong 5 years, but it is for military use. They conducted several tests in New Zealand, Australia, and in the northeastern Brazil. In February 2016, following an agreement with the government of Sri Lanka, Google started tests to provide internet access service in the country using Project Loon balloons. In the joint work with the local operating companies. Another important event in 2016 in Puerto Rico, there was a test of the auto launcher crane specially built for the project, enabling the launch of balloon in just 30 minutes. At kaya wala sa Pilipinas si Project Loon. Although, ang daming Facebook users. And the Philippines being a record holder in terms of time spent for individual. Alam nyo kung ilang oras per day tayo ang record holder. Kaya no wonder even in a family during kainan, lahat may hawak na cellphone for social media. Then in 2013, merong Solara project by Google again. So Google did not stop. Tapos ng Project Loon, meron silang ganito, parang aircraft. In 2014, Google bought the American company Titan Aerospace, a developer of Solara with 50 high-altitude unmanned aerial vehicles. The Solara 50 was announced by the Titan Aerospace in 2013. Pero binili ng Google. The aircraft has a wingspan of 50 meters and a total weight of 159 kg with a payload equivalent to 32 kg. It is expected that the Solara 50 will be capable of flying at 20 kilometers up to 5 years. Hindi nagpahuli si Facebook. And this is also in the news. And we have been hearing about the purpose and objective of Facebook, that they wanted every area in the world to have access to internet. So, nag-develop sila ng Aquila or the Aquila UAV, Ascenta by Facebook. And the project began in March 2014. They purchased the British company Ascenta with staff which participated in the development of Zephyr, yung mga Zephyr, no? At saka Kinetic. Binili ni Facebook and then developed what we call Aquila. Okay? According to Facebook, this service would connect millions of Indian citizens currently without access to internet. Ganda, no? There is no information whether this denial will affect Facebook plan for Aquila. Kasi gusto nila ni February 2016, together with India Telecommunication Authorities, dininay nila yung permission to pay the free basics services in the country. Pero sayang, it should have happened, and this will create a substantial development in terms of digital divide. Other projects, in addition to HAPS, no, several other may be cited. In the United States, there are 3 projects in progress of medium and high altitude AUB, with a goal of 1 week or more autonomy using hydrogen as fuel. Meron pa nag-isip, hydrogen. Merong Global Observer by Aero Environment, Orion, Aurora Flight Sciences, and Phantom Eye by Boeing. So maraming projects with single objective to provide towers in the sky. So mga engineers, wala na yung tower in the bundok or the mountain area. Wala na tayong problema in terms of acquisition. There are a lot of issues on acquisition as well as the opposition coming from the homeowners, especially on the health issues. Although it was already been covered by the Food and Drug, pero yung mga tao talaga ayaw. So there are many problems in terms of tower deployment. So let's begin with the HAPS. After discussing or introducing the different technologies on unmanned and manned aerial vehicle with objective to provide communication link to the ground. So this is HAPS. Mag-video muna tayo. May sound ba?
Hello, Sir Ted. Wala pong sound.
Okay, sandali. Ito.
Wala pong sound, sir.
Walang sound?
Para okay na ata yan, sir.
Okay.
Ay, hello, Sir Ted. Wala pa rin sound.
Hello, mukhang na-unmute ako sa yung presentation ko. Please have it unmuted.
Ayan po, okay na po.
Ito. Balik tayo, sorry.
Yes po, sir.
Above the clouds, up in the sky, bordered by space, is the stratosphere. SoftBank's next-generation telecom system. High-altitude platform station, HAPS. With 78 meters of wingspan and 10 propellers, HAPS is a lightweight aircraft flying at 110 kilometers per hour. The large wing surface is covered by solar panels. In the stratosphere, there is plenty of sunlight during daytime, and the weather is mild throughout the year, with little change in the wind speed. This condition makes a long-term, stable flight possible. The aircraft flying in a certain area for months, powered completely by the sun. One HAPS operates as a cell site with radio coverage of 200 kilometers in diameter, which delivers a telecom network serving the entire ground. Standby aircrafts are always ready to take off for maintenance and emergencies to offer constant, stable services to customers. As close as 20 kilometers to the ground, HAPS realizes low-latency, high-quality telecommunications. HAPS uses the same frequency with the one from on-ground cell sites, so existing devices will work without any upgrade. A system is used where HAPS does not interfere with the on-ground cell sites. Seamless handover between cells allows users to continue enjoying communications. Whether it's urban or rural areas, in light aircrafts and drones, the combination of HAPS and on-ground cell sites will cover human activities from the ground up to the sky. HAPS can serve as critical rescue and recovery infrastructure to bring stable telecommunications to people. It will also be an essential tool for remote monitoring in isolated islands, for IoT devices used for farming, dairying, and many other future IoT communications. HAPS will be able to provide high-quality services in developing countries short of telecom infrastructure. HAPS will soon make a super wide area telecom network into reality. Various field tests have been carried out and are in the final stage. Ever extending human activities around the world. With HAPS, there are no boundaries in the future telecom network. HAPS will lead an information revolution. A revolution spreading happiness for everyone is about to begin. SoftBank will continue to create a broader future.
Excited ba tayo? Go Tanya, Ramel. Go Ramel. I'm really excited about this technology. I was part of the research group that being tasked by a Japan company. Tapos sa Cagayan de Oro pa, yung mga researchers. And I am really proud to say that the footprints of ECEs is all over HAPS. Kasi tayo ang tinawag eh. Together with Attorney Albina, the main writer, electrical engineer by profession, pero lawyer din, doctor ng engineering. With Alex Maurial, kilala nyo yun, tsaka si Ulrich Uy, kilala nyo rin. So, with yours truly, as part of the team that conducted a research on the entry of HAPS in the Philippines. I'm quite excited because remember that in the Philippines, we are a archipelagic country with many dead spots, no? Ang daming dead spots sa atin. Ang hirap kasi kukunti lang ang towers. We are still being hounded by the deployment of towers. And the authorities, the government authorities are trying its best to cover the whole area of the country. But again, what will happen to the areas like islands, remote islands, and other areas that are not really profitable for the telcos to deploy their network? So kaya excited tayo. And if this will happen in our country, again, ang laki ng contribution ng mga ECEs, PECEs. Ayan. This will actually, sabi ni Buenaventura, parang Buenavista Buenaventura, no? Ngayon, etong HAPS network at a glance, yung strength niya, high operability, it will stay for several months. To be exact, 6 months, 6 months. Hovering the sky. Pag meron tayong tower, terrestrial tower, normally, the coverage area is from 3 to 10 kilometers. But with the HAPS, meron siyang 200 kilometers in terms of coverage. So, again, just like other technologies that were invented before HAPS, mamaya, maraming questions mamaya, Doc. I will be answering that. No? Again, the distance from the ground is about 20 kilometers or 20,000 meters. Disaster resilient, of course, no? Yung towers, pagka medyo bagyo or other disasters, toppled yan. But with the HAPS, parang eagle, nasa taas lang. And this carries ultra-wide LTE and 5G coverage. Siyang bahala doon. And then able to use current smartphone, meaning to say, no need to modify your phones. Ang satellite phone kasi kailangan dongle or you have to buy the satellite phone. With the HAPS, yung current smartphones mo kan basta LTE tsaka 5G ready lang siya. It can be accommodated. Cost effective compared to terrestrial towers. You will be building a lot of towers covering the 200 kilometers coverage. That can singly covered by HAPS. Ito yung wingspan, yung mga tanong kanina. Ito yung technical specifications of the HAPS. The aircraft is known as the Sun Glider with a wingspan of 78 meters. So this will utilize the runway, no? Meron din siyang sariling runway. And in fact, they are thinking of renting a private airport for the launching of the HAPS. And the airport will have a hangar that will have several HAPS stations for maintenance. And of course, they have to replace before the end of 6 months. So replenishment ng mga HAPS stations. And that is going to be launched. Kaya meron silang hinihingi how many are private airstrips in the Philippines. The speed of the Sun Glider is about 110 kilometers per hour. And the flight duration, unmanned po to, about 6 months to be exact. And then uses a new technology, the kind of battery, they call it high energy density lithium ion. Ito yung network structure of the HAPS. The crucial part is the feeder link or the satellite station from the ground that connects to the HAPS. And then the service links that will connect directly to the mobile phones and other laptops or whatever terminals that has an internet access point. So yung core network, no? Ito yun, LTE, 5G coverage, and the drone, pwede ng 3G. Very fast in terms of deployment, sustainable for disaster. Tignan mo, one HAPS. One HAPS, no? Parang plural, pero one HAPS. Kasi may station eh. It replaces 400 cell sites. Pero hindi naman siya nag-replace because it doesn't interfere. It actually complements to the existing towers. What we are trying to say is, if you don't have towers, or you need 400 towers to cover the 200 kilometers, all you need to have is only one HAPS station, and it covers 400, equivalent to 400 cell sites. 20 kilometers from the ground, so malayo siya sa air traffic, commercial air traffic. At nasa 20 kilometers because ito yung mahina ang wind, so walang distraction. Ang sun is steady, so it uses solar cells to power during the night. And then sa umaga, during the night, batteries, solar cells, so green energy. So the HAPS can harmonize the service links or access links to the ground. So crucial lang ang feeder link. Unlike with the satellite using KU and the KA band, medyo may mga interference. Tsaka you need a special terminal for you to access the satellite. Ang HAPS, direct to the handsets. And it uses clean energy and flies for about 6 months. HAPS will offer a base station incorporated in the aircraft to telecommunication operators worldwide as infrastructure. So any telecommunication, it can be deployed on top of the existing cell phone infrastructure for each carrier. In case of multiple operators exist in an area, it is possible to provide the whole aircraft to a single carrier or shared carrier among multiple carriers. Ito, types of design. Pwedeng bridge, linking the service link as well as feeder link. Meaning, this is so designed for backhaul or trunking. There is another design for mobile direct. From the gateway, it links to the HAPS, then provide direct access to equipment or universal equipment. HAPS could collaborate with any mobile carriers. The main business model of HAPS will be leasing and sale of HAPS aircraft, and also the maintenance and operations of the system. Kung ako si telco, instead of building many towers, that are being opposed by the homeowners, it would be better for me just to rent a HAPS station. The goal of HAPS is to foster connected society and bridge the digital divide by collaborating with mobile carriers around the world. Yung autonomous driving can be a possibility because the autonomous driving is dependent on connectivity, and there are areas that has no signal, so you don't have to worry if you are connected into HAPS. The coverage. It has a huge coverage of around 200 kilometers in diameter. Parang ang tower in the sky. And it can also provide direct communication to aircrafts. So pwedeng navigational aid to aircrafts, or if there are some issues on the aircraft, you can use HAPS as an access point. Walang problema sa magbabago man ng panahon kasi nasa taas lang siya up from the clouds. By using that latest technology, HAPS and on-ground cell sites can use the same frequency without interference. Kaya magaling ang nag-invent. For this reason, existing smartphones and IoT devices will work with the HAPS network. In my presentation, I also give the link to the video presentation of the HAPS as well as other sources of information. Spectrum. Kanina, we are talking about the coverage. Now, how about the spectrum needs? HAPS will use 2 radio waves link direction. Ano yon? Feeder link at saka service link. The feeder link is used between the ground gateway and the HAPS aircraft. And the service link is used between HAPS aircraft and mobile device on the ground. For these links, 2 different radio waves will be applied. The feeder link uses the straight advancing high frequency bandwidth, with the service link uses bandwidth which is available for existing devices. The HAPS will provide services with a structure of non-interference with existing ground station by using the appropriate frequency bands of respective countries and regions, including new potential frequency bands for 5G. And HAPS are working for the 6G, for future telecommunication platform. HAPS is very active in the participation sa World Radio Communication Conference held by the International Telecommunication Union, T and R, to coordinate the available use of frequency bands for HAPS communication. Ito. For drone, as far as utilization, pwedeng 3G coverage kasi walang patid ang access on connection sa ating drone. And it can also connect, of course, covering the geographically isolated and undeveloped areas, no? Disadvantaged areas or the GIDAs. Geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. Ito yung mga walang gustong pumunta. And ito rin yung gustong mangyari ng DICT under the One Connect program nila, providing access points to areas. Kaya lang, there are areas that cannot be reached by traditional communication. Ang gagawin na lang nila through VSAT. Pero who is going to take care of the VSAT that is vulnerable to abuse by people with criminal intent? And HAPS is also very responsive, very resilient for disaster recovery and prevention. HAPS are really good for connecting IoT, a completely different world that creates new possibilities. Kaya hindi na problema si farmer. All he has to do is just to focus on the plants because he has connections that is seamless without interference from various interference because of many factors. With drones flying above, photos and videos are shot from the sky. Delivery services have launched and construction sites are improving productivity by calculating volumes. Kitang-kita na sa taas. Kasi minsan, ang problema sa drone, pag nawala na ang signal, wala ka na rin makuha. Of course, that's natural effect. But with the HAPS, constant connection can be guaranteed. Ito, disaster. Pagka may disaster, unang masira is power, then telecommunications. And remember that during disaster, what is crucial is sharing of information. But how can you communicate if you are being cut off because of the disaster? With HAPS, if you have batteries, you can still communicate using HAPS as the access point. So walang problema. And then again, even sa bundok, especially people that needs emergency response, kaya lang walang signal. Or there are cases where you need to provide monitors, sensors as early warning devices, but you don't have any connection in a place where there is really a need to establish sensors and other communication facilities. HAPS, again, is an answer to ubiquitous era. When you say ubiquitous, that is, wala na si computer. Computer, pumupunta nandun na sa cellphones, smartphones, and even gadgets, small gadgets. Meron ng mga microprocessors. All are with microprocessors. Kaya ang sale ng microprocessors keeps on increasing every day. And utilization niya, hindi lang sa computer or cell phones, but even on cars, appliances, and even other devices. So, nawala daw si computer. Actually, nandun lang. Kaya lang invisible. So, Ubiquitous is pervasive network. Wireless, mobile, line network. This is according to Mark Weiser, namatay noong 1999. So, HAPS can provide constant communication to home, office, factory, streets, mobile, anywhere. Kaya pala sinasabi natin ubiquitous, it can connect anyone, anytime, anywhere, any device, any network. Kasi hindi mo na alam eh. Kaya this will also be good, especially when the government has approved the number portability, where you can choose the network of your choice while retaining your number. Kasi dati, we cannot go out from Smart or Globe or dito, kahit na sumama ang service, because we wanted to keep our number. With the number portability, you can retain your number even if you are going to change your provider. So, sinong winner? Tayo, mga consuming public. Siguro sa susunod, pupunta tayo sa Globe, Smart, or dito, may libreng kape na just to maintain loyalty. Gaganda ang serbisyo kasi pwede tayong umalis sa kanila. Dati, parang ano siya, hindi siya buyer's market, seller market kasi yung number natin, we wanted to maintain it because of the contacts. Medyo kahit pangit ang serbisyo, we are forced to stay. So, yung tao, under the ubiquitous environment, meron na siyang virtual personal computing environment. He can connect, the watch can connect to even to your doctors, yung info, medical information can be stored and can be shared to your doctor. Of course, it cannot be shared to just anyone because of privacy. Kaya lumalaki din ang industry ng cybersecurity, mga around 600 billion for the next 3 years. 600 billion US dollars. So while working, you can be connected to your workplace. Kaya pala sa Japan, when you go out from your home, your salary, the computation of your salary once you get out from your house. Kasi ano na yun papunta ka na sa workplace mo. And you can do a lot by using devices connected to you. You can also communicate with your home using ubiquitous sensor networks. It can be connected to friends, even delivery. You can be notified if there are pending or delivery in transit or baka papunta na sa'yo, you can redirect the delivery man instead of your house kasi wala ka doon. You can connect. And this will only happen if you have a seamless communication. Ito yung service framework ng Ubiquitous. And this is quite good. Dati may FDAS tayo. Currently pala may FDAS tayo. Ang purpose of the FDAS is to detect fire and alarm. But of course, hindi na lang si FDAS. Eventually, our house will become smart houses. Ito yon. Sa house mo, you will have a lot of sensors. Sensor in terms of heat, o medyo mainit, and then you can switch and have your aircon run prior to your arrival. You can have a fall detector kung may mga bata or matatanda. So connected na yan. That's nakakonect pa yan dun sa anak or any member of the family. Flood detector, kung merong flood sa baba, meron siyang rising level of water, it can also detect. Meron siyang environmental control solution. Merong carbon monoxide detector. So lahat, ang daming detector. And then sa bahay, it will be protected by sensors. Either face recognition or if there are intruders, you will be notified. And this will only happen if you have a seamless connectivity. And this can be complemented by the HAPS. Kasi wala nang dead spot Okay? Pressure mat, natural gas detector, including, of course, property exit sensor, video door entry, bugos caller button. So maraming under the smart home. And the augmented reality can be realized with the seamless connectivity being introduced by HAPS. As I have mentioned a while ago, the autonomous driving technology is dependent on the accessibility and reliability of your communication. If you are out of the coverage area, your autonomous driving could have some issues or problems. But with the HAPS, it provides constant communication. The autonomous driving technology can be optimized as far as utilization is concerned. Yan. Mga asawa, pwede nyo nang ma-detect kung nasan yung mga asawa natin. Hindi ibig sabihin maraming asawa. Si Gob Ramel lang meron yan. Okay? So, I've been lecturing about the USN before, but the usual questions or issues on the USN is connectivity. But with the HAPS, again, this will be materialized and optimized as far as utilization is concerned. Kaya for resiliency, bagay ang HAPS. Okay? So some of the USN. So Gob Ramel and Gob Tanya, can we have a short break before proceeding to the next couple of slides?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Medyo naubusan na rin ako ng tubig. Sorry.
Yes, sir. We can have a break.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gob Ramel.
Engineer Joanne,
Yes, sir.
we'll have a short break.
Okay. While we are on short break, you can send your questions in our chat box. So Sir Ted will be answering some of the questions if we have time after the webinar. Thank you. I guess we'll be back after 5 minutes, sir, or 10 minutes.
Recording stopped.
Okay na tayo, Governor Ramil, Joanne.
Yes, sir.
Palagay ko maraming questions because this is going to be for the first time na meron pala tayong incoming technology in our country.
Yes, sir. Meron na pong medyo marami na pong mga questions sa chat
Yes.
box.
Okay, yung USN, again, no? If you can see the slide, meron tayong
Recording in progress.
water system. The biggest problem of water distribution is the leaks. So ang leaks not only result to loss of revenue, but more particularly, this is particularly on the health concern, because if there are leaks, there are possible contamination that results to waterborne diseases, waterborne related diseases. With the USN, again, compared to traditional way of doing on the maintenance of water system, is to try to visually detect the areas that has some leaks. So meaning you have to visit multiple areas to try to check ano yung mga wet areas that might be the cause of leaks. But small leaks cannot be detected because it can only generate not an ample liquids to show on the ground, to show sa upper ground, no, na meron ng wet surface that resemble as the leaks or the leak area. Kaya ang nadidetect lang is yung mga wet areas, no, very revealing wet areas. Then normally we have to dig. They have to dig and then try to locate the source of the leak. That is the problem of the traditional way of doing business in the water supply industry. Si ECE pala, pwedeng magbigay ng solusyon. A technology known as a sensor under the USN, Ubiquitous Sensor Network, developed by the National National Industry Promotion Agency of Korea. Maraming brands on the sensors that will provide a mechanism that transmits information to the office, no, the maintenance office, as to the location of the leak. So meron siyang server, and then provides the specific or gives the specific area where the leaks originated. So meron tayo niyan. You can give it to the water industry players, no? Industry players na hindi lang pala sanitary ang engineers, kasama pala si ECE. The same is true with the security as well as possible disasters. May mga sensors din. So aside from the FDAS, which is already a requirement for multiple story buildings or structures, you can add USN as part of the family of sensors that provides control and communication or sensing communication for alert. Yan. Ito yung mga USN, pero hindi masyadong ginagamit sa Pilipinas kasi FDAS pa lang ang medyo nakafocus ang mga ECEs natin. But try to explore the USN and you will get a lot of information about USN. Ito yung mga structures on the USN. USN technology also the reason for minimizing the road accidents. Kasi maraming nangyari because yung nag-blow yung tire, but using the USN, at nilagay mo lang sa rim, and then it provides information as to the pressure or the possibility that your tire is aging, and it provides all the needed information, and the objective is to protect the passengers of course, the drivers and the passengers of the car. So meron din tayong mga ganyan using USN. Try to imagine a lot of applications of the USN, and you can introduce this to your prospective users. Wag na kayo masyadong marami ng players sa FDAS. Aside from the FDAS, meron ka palang additional knowledge and additional products or additional technology that can be introduced to your prospective users. Ito, you introduce this and you will have additional revenue, especially on areas na merong mga may mga super highway, may mga gagandang mga highways. Lalo na ngayon, pinapaganda yung roads, widening the roads. So meaning there is a possibility that because of a wider road, may result din na bibilis ang movement. But of course, there should be an added protection to the passengers and drivers to avoid loss of lives and properties. Ito yung mga samples ng mga USN. Take a picture of that and you will have many possibilities and killer applications. This is the core technology. What you will do is to develop its application. Saan mo ba gustong ilagay para meron kang paglalagyan sa technology mo? Pwedeng sa mga warehouse, pwedeng sa mga trackings, pwedeng sa mga opisina. And these sensors are really good in protecting the lives and properties. So aside from the IFDAS, magdagdag tayo ng technology that can only be offered by us as ECEs. Kasi tayo lang nakaintindi nito. If you want more about the USN technology, try to email to me. I will give the materials. I will give even the designs mga on the core technology like USN. Yan, kagaya nito, sensor networks. I will be providing you with presentation on the USN. I just included this to the HAPS because these are complementary to the HAPS. Kasi traditionally, sinasabi lang natin na the primary customer of the HAPS are the mobile phone users. Of course, through the telcos, but HAPS can also provide a direct communication link to the sensors. Kaya when you introduce the USN, you are pretty sure that this is going to be appreciated by the users because of the possibilities of having a constant and seamless connectivity with the sensors as well as the users of the phones or the users of the sensors. Yan. Ito. These are the technical specs of Smart DAS. Kaya sabi ko nga sa inyo disappearing computers nandito na sa mga sensors, yung mga microprocessors. And then Zigbee that uses a frequency band na within the internal communication. Okay? Now, let us try to look. Diretso na tayo. I hope you will have some interest on the sensors because there are markets and there is a seminar on the sensors or the USN where you can find that the size of the market, ang laki ng size of the market of the sensors. Lalo na sa Pilipinas, hindi pa masyadong ginagamit si USN. This is the situation in the Philippines. Ito yung mga the SOCCS are trying to address or HAPS will try to resolve. No? Una is we have a weak digital infrastructure. While it is true that our internet speed keeps on improving, but the latest data suggests that we need more in order to be at par with the countries, our neighbor. Just imagine, before we used to be the last tier in terms of speed. Nasa 3.6 Mbps lang tayo sa mobile o nasa 6 Mbps lang sa fixed broadband. The latest, as far as the report on the survey, the report of the Aquila, we are now ranked 72 among the 160 countries. So it is quite an improvement. And factors that are affecting this change in terms of speed, kasi nasa ano na tayo nasa 54 na, I think sa 54 Mbps for the fixed broadband, around 30 for the mobile broadband. Pero 72 is still 72. We need to crack the one of the best in terms of speed. Malayo tayo sa Korea. And again, you cannot also blame the telcos because of the problems in terms of deployment. Dati ang hirap It needs about 27 permits before a telco can begin constructing their towers. With President Duterte, medyo gumanda. Just recently in 2020, mayroong joint memorandum circular among the agencies that are involved in the construction of towers, kasama si DICT, si DPWH, DOH, FDA, si CAAP, EDSUD, madami, no? Si ARTA. The intention is to streamline the issuance of permits and licensing for the construction of passive telecommunications towers. But again, we can still classify that in the Philippines, meron tayong weak digital infrastructure. We cannot see a lot of improvement in the rural areas especially. In the urban areas, mga lalo na yung mga subdivisions that are being where the who's who in the Philippines, hindi ka basta makapasok. Galit sila, walang signal, pero lalagyan mo ng tower, nagagalit din. Marami dyan sa Makati, Ortigas, you cannot just go inside the private subdivision. So that resulted to weak digital infrastructure. Even in cities, urban areas, where it is expected that the signals are really good, there are still areas in the highly urbanized areas pala, no, mga cities, that has no coverage. If there are some coverage, medyo hindi ganong kabilis ang signal. And our Region 10 dito sa Cagayan de Oro, we are now on its way to build a broadband map para alam namin nasan yung mabilis, nasan yung mabagal, nasan yung wala. Lalagyan natin ng magandang broadband for our policy making decision makers to have a good policy direction. So ito yung scenario sa Pilipinas, and this is also true to other cities. Nung 2020, alam natin na for every tower sa Pilipinas, it is being used by around 4,900 subscribers per tower. Compare this to Indonesia, nasa 2,000 lang. Tayo 4,000 eh. Indonesia nasa 2,000 subscribers per tower. In China, nasa 320 lang. Even if there are billions of people in China, per tower nila, ang to be the average users nasa 380 lang. In Vietnam, nasa 850 lang. In Thailand, nasa 700 lang. Sa Pilipinas, 4,000. Kaya weak digital infrastructure. Then another situation is limited availability in acceptable terms and low reliability of internet service. And this can be shown on the kind or nature of complaints that we have been receiving from the subscribers. Iiyak yan kung walang araw na walang susulat sa amin asking for assistance to improve their connectivity. Ang hirap, kahit naka-fiber, nahirapan sila. Kahit sa office namin sa Cagayan de Oro, meron kaming intermittent. So, ang reliability issue is very apparent and it cannot be denied. And we as NTC should do something, and even the ICT should do something to improve. And we have to admit that if we cannot improve that for the next couple of years, then we are remiss in our duty. And then challenges of business enabling approach to improve service. Lalo na siguro dahil sa pandemya, medyo mahirap kumuha ng service, no? We can also understand the plight of our telcos because nakaano rin sila, naka-skeletal. It will take not days, even weeks before a repair can be done to subscribers. And we have records to show that. And perceived, so this is just a perception, perceived market failures in the key areas of limited players, especially on the rural areas. Wala namang pupunta doon. Sino ba namang pupunta na telco? That the telco's primary objective is profit. Totoo yan. Hindi naman sila nag-exist if the intention is to provide free services. Sa kanila, that's the primary intention of a business, a corporation that deals with business. So walang maliliit. Walang pupunta sa mga areas like rural areas or areas that are not considered profitable. Why invest millions of pesos with only few subscribers? Which is true. And that is the reality. That is why we have Republic Act on free Wi-Fi. Ito yung mag-bridge between the hubs and don't have. Then the inadequate, again, ICT infrastructure. Medyo, although we are increasing but not yet in a standard or the number of infrastructure that is within the norms or the standard of other countries. The huge digital divide across Philippine archipelago. Ito pa, poor quality but high cost. And I think you agree with that. In terms of cost, medyo mahal pa tayo dito. Okay? And there are legal and regulatory challenges as well on the entry of HAPS. Una, we can see beyond these initiatives or beyond this HAPS initiative, there are 4 key challenges that need to be addressed to improve availability, quality, and affordability of internet services. Restriction on investment and competition. Okay? Restriction on investment. If you are a foreign entity, you cannot own a public utility to include telecommunication. You cannot own more than 40%. And this is a capital-intensive industry. So you need more capital, foreign sources, but you are being restricted because of issues on ownership. So there are moves in the Congress to amend Commonwealth Act pa, 146 Commonwealth Act. Commonwealth, so meaning we shared with other nations. Hindi pa siya Republic Act. Commonwealth Act 146, 1936. Napaka tagal na. Where restriction, nakita doon, restriction up to 40%. Competition. There are moves in the Congress to have the frequency. Kasi dito sa atin, di naman natin ino-auction ang frequency. We assign it through a beauty contest, baga. Who has the better in terms of financial, technical, and all the dimensions being designed by the government for you to be given the authority. Kaya nga, meron tayong bidding noon, but we are not bidding the frequency, but we are bidding who is going to be the third telco. Kasi hindi naman basta papasok, kasi yung papasok ka, limited lang naman ang frequency. And then complex permit regulation. Even if there was already a joint circular lang kasi yan eh, on the streamline, there are local government units that are still considered as barrier to entry of towers in their area of jurisdiction. Tapos, meron pa, there are sanggunian. We have records on that, opposing the construction of towers. And there are many regulations that are considered as obsolete. Kasi we are using in 1931 law, Act 3846. Kung titignan mo yung text on the Act 3846, meron pa nga provision doon. Kaya lang, amended naman yon. Pero nandun yung original. In times of calamity, in times of emergency, the United States of America, meron doon. Hindi pa rin siya nagbago, although inamend lang siya. Yun lang provision na inamend kasi hindi na tayo under sa United States. But the substantial regulations are considered obsolete na. Pre-internet. Ang latest lang natin is 7925, enacted in 1995. Pero pre-internet, kaya ang tawag doon, hindi na mention si internet. Na classify lang siya, could be classified under the Enhanced Telecommunications Services. Kaya pumasok si VAS, Value Added Service. Kaya lang, if you are a VAS operator, you need to be registered sa NTC, but you cannot deploy your own network. So how can you deploy internet connections to the rural area where the government prohibits or the law prohibits you to deploy? You need to use only the existing telecommunication facilities of the telco. Wala nga sila doon eh. Wala nga. Paano yun? So, hirap. Kaya, merong pending bill. Meron tayong bill on Open Access on Data Transmission Act that will allow mga middle mile, last mile operators to be given authority to deploy their facilities. Infrastructure sharing for deployment of mobile. Sana isang tower na lang nandun lahat. Pero wala pa tayo dyan. Common tower. Hindi pa masyadong revealing sa ibang areas. And then more efficient and effective radio spectrum management. And this is being discussed in the lower and upper chamber of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, authored by Hontiveros and Yap in the lower house, the Philippine Spectrum Management Reform Act. Beyond this initiative, sinasabi, HAPS has not been formally classified by CAAP. Although you can see that this is actually considered as a large unmanned aerial vehicle, which is also in the classification under the CAAP regulation. So pwede siya as large, pero hindi siya nakalagay na HAPS, but large unmanned aerial vehicle. But HAPS can be qualified as large unmanned aerial vehicle. However, HAPS also adheres because during the WRC, the ICAO, or the International Civil Aviation Organization, has also discussed about HAPS and the possibility of providing a regulatory framework for HAPS to happen. So the spectrum or the frequency spectrum an assignment. Kasi iba yung allocation at iba rin yung assignment. In-allocate mo for a certain service at in-assign mo na sa particular user. And this is being discussed during the WRC 97, WRC 2000, WRC 12, and they designated spectrum for HAPS, so meaning it is being discussed in the frequency band 47-48 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, 27-31 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. Delegates of WRC 19, we should be very proud because the delegates of WRC 19 in Egypt, ito yung pinaka-latest na conference ng World Radio Communication. Ang delegation headed by USEC Alan Silor. So, IECEP, no? Andun sila. Kasama sila sa Philippine delegates for the WRC 19, where there are several final acts. So, meaning final na yon, that the countries should abide. Aside from USEC Silor, meron din tayong from IECEP na sumama, from NTC. Sila former President Imelda Walchin, nandun si Obet Tolentino of NTC, at saka former Vice Governor Glenn Mercado. Sila yung mga delegates ng WRC where the final acts was issued the following year in 2020. And they identified HAPS bands of 31 to 31.3 gigahertz. This is for the feeder links, 38 to 39.5. And this is for the use of HAPS worldwide. Also, WRC 19 also confirmed the existing worldwide identification of HAPS in the band of 47.2 to 47.5 gigahertz and 47.9 to 48.2 gigahertz. These are available for worldwide use by administration to include the Philippines wishing to implement the high altitude platform station. SoftBank has identified 2 countries that might be the recipient of HAPS. Luckily, the 2 countries include the Philippines. The other one is Indonesia. Naturally, Indonesia kasi dami rin mga island doon. So this is the frequency spectrum global and regionally harmonized designation of HAPS, and then the frequencies needed for ground to HAPS. Kasi dalawang links eh. Ground to HAPS, then HAPS to ground. Ang HAPS, ground to HAPS, from 396 MHz to 2,969 MHz or 2.9 GHz. From 324 for the HAPS to ground to 1505 MHz or 1.5 MHz. Ano sa Pilipinas? Okay? Ano naman sa Pilipinas? Pwede kaya? Founded on WRC Final Acts, yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, where one of the signatories are from the IECEP. Identification of HAPS, meron tayong 47.2 to 47.5. In other words, there are strong candidates for HAPS spectrum needs. In other words, if this will happen, HAPS can be introduced in the Philippines even by next year. Delegates, again, part of the final act, 31 to 31.3, and 38 to 39.5, 47 to 47.5, 47 to 48.2. But the problem is, there are issues. DICT and NTC have not yet established a regulatory framework for HAPS. And I hope they are now going to discuss this because this is crucial for the entry of HAPS in the Philippines. In Indonesia, they are now discussing the regulatory framework for the entry of HAPS. The bands have not yet allocated and assigned by NTC. Okay lang yung assign kasi wala pa namang player. But the bands have not yet allocated. So wala pang na-allocate for HAPS. So maraming salamat, and all the rest will be all the rest will be on the question and answer portion. The high altitude platform, the primary authors are Atty. Albina, Buena Vista, Maurial, and Ulrich. And then some of the citations to include Journal of Aerospace Technology and Management, the National Telecommunications Annual Report from 2019 to 2020, the National Radio Frequency Allocation Table on the NRFAT revised in 2019, the World Radio Communication Conference or WRC 19, Final Acts, the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. You can download the World Radio Communication Conference 2019. Nandun yung mga pangalan ni Yusek Silor, ni past President Imelda Walshen, si Roberto Tolentino or si Obet, tsaka si Glenn Mercado. Thank you so much. I am now ready if there are some questions.
Hello, Sir Ted. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Ang dami pong na-excite sa new technology po. Thank you. And meron po mga questions dito sa chat.
Madami, Joanne, ano?
Yes, ang dami po. Actually, yung main question nila is because they are very interested with the presentation. Pwede po ba daw humingi ng presentation, sir? Sabi nila.
Yes. I will just email it to the 2 chapters and it can be shared. And you can also reuse that. Walang problem.
Thank you so much po, Sir Ted.
Wala tong bayad, walang bayad. This is for free. Ang ano kasi, Joanne, possibilities kasi ito ng mga employment tsaka technologies within the ECE family.
Oo nga, sir. Ang galing nga po ng technology. I'm just scrolling the questions here po, sir. Wait. Galing. Yun po we can start with the first question po. Q&A na po tayo. Wait lang po ha. Okay. Sir Ted,
Yep.
I'm going to read the first question. Okay. This is from Dr. Amador Alumia. I'm curious, given the long wingspan of HAPS aircraft, how are they launched? Di kasya sa airports. Paano po ba, Sir Ted?
Doc, meron siyang sariling hangar na either rent nila or they have their own hangar, no? They require the Philippines, in the Philippines to have yung maliit lang na runway. The runway will be utilized as their take-off point at landing point nila for maintenance purposes. Ang balak kasi ni HAPS, industry secret, pero hindi naman kasi ito mag-compete sa telco eh. Si HAPS kasi complementary to the telco. Meron nga ginagawa ngayon under negotiation ang Smart and one of the technology providers on the towers in the sky. Mababasa nyo rin yan. Ang HAPS kasi, they wanted to launch their technology covering the entire Palawan. Bakit Palawan? Tingnan mo yung length ng Palawan is around like 200 kilometers in length, the total length. So ibig sabihin nun, if you put one HAPS station in Palawan, you can already cover the entire area. And very challenging ang Palawan in terms of network deployment. Kasi ang daming islands din eh. Tsaka ang hirap ng terrain. Kaya kung si telco ka, medyo maggastos kung if you are going to mga access points access points sa Palawan. If HAPS will be available in Palawan, then lahat ng problema ng telco mawawala. Because the HAPS can house the 3 telcos. Pwede niyang gawin. Providing constant connectivity to the subscribers. Kaya siguro, naisip nila, okay, titignan natin kasi ang problema sa ibang countries like in Malaysia, if you have a hub that is very near Singapore, so you have border issues. May kailangan ng frequency coordination meeting madalas. Pero sa Palawan, walang problema. In other areas of the Philippines, walang problema. Sa Malaysia, medyo mahirap kasi didiretso ka, meron ng Thailand. Meron pang possibility of causing some interference in Bangladesh and other areas within the border of Thailand. Kaya, to answer your question, again, meron silang sariling airport. If not shared airport with one hangar, with a different hangar, I mean. Did I answer your question, Doc?
Ayan. Ayan, thank you po, Sir Ted. And I think nasagot na yung question ni Doc. There's another question here with regards to the HAPS po, sir, from Mr. Engineer Steven De Pedro. So does it require one ground for every HAPS unit?
Meron siyang sinasabing feeder link, no? May feeder link station that connects a hub station. But hub to hub, pwedeng gawin din. Halimbawa, may multiple hubs ka, nag-connect lang sila sa sky. What you need is one feeder link that connects a hub station, and then a station of hub will connect another station within yung area na meron siyang hubs. Kaya ground to hubs is needed. Kasi wala namang problema hubs to ground kasi direct connect siya sa mga mobile or smartphones. Wala nang kailangan i-modify si smartphone. Basta meron lang siyang 4G capability tsaka 5G capability. Thank you.
Thank you po. Let's go on to another question from Engineer Roel Woho. How can weather affect its operation? We are always visited by typhoons. I think na-discuss mo po yun kanina, Sir Ted.
Yes, Ma'am Joanne, kasi nasa taas parang eagle Nasa sa outside of the typhoon, above the clouds siya kasi. Kaya wala siyang problema as far as disruption on the weather.
Galing po, Sir Ted, no? So, pwede siyang, nung nangyari yung Landa before, di ba?
Yes.
We had a problem with communications.
Mukhang this is really good for the Philippines. Kasi tayo, nasa ring of fire tayo We situated in a ring of fire. And then we have around an average of 20 typhoon visits every year. Aside from that, meron din mga volcanic activities that can cause disaster, no? So ang ginagawa ni HAPS, naging resilient siya. Kasi nasa taas lang siya Parang, yun nga sinasabi ang marketing nga nila, towers in the sky.
Galing talaga, Sir, no? I hope okay na po yung question na yun. And let's go to the next question. Thank you, Sir Ted. Next question we have here from Engineer Joel Arjona. Any security consideration measures against foreign and local terror threats?
It can be resolved by yung security mo. Kasi lahat naman ng telco, in fact during the bidding for the telco, kasama siya sa terms and condition that they have to disclose their cybersecurity program. And ikaw is a provider, you make sure that there will be no threats that will render your services inutil. So that is the primary objective of the telco. Kaya meron ngang free seminar ngayon, at least hindi naman siguro to marketing, but I received a letter from Smart on the cybersecurity. So they are going to provide free seminar, webinar. I think that is open to all. If you are interested, I can also give that link to the 2 chapters, and then the 2 chapters will share this to the participants for them to learn about cybersecurity.
Thank you po, Sir Ted.
Papadala ko rin yan siguro. Baka may interesadong sumama dyan sa webinar sponsored by Smart as well as professionals. Meron naman tayo, no? Alam natin si ASEC Cabanlong, who is into cybersecurity. I also have a townmate, na si Angel Redoble, na nagbigay din ng seminar in 2012 during my term sa Cebu. And he is also one of the fellows sa world, no, in terms of cybersecurity.
Thank you po, Sir Ted. Another question here. We have from Mr. Engineer Keith Cruz. Is SoftBank the only vendor available right now?
Wala pa kasi tayong meron, hindi lang si HAPS. Meron. Siya, yung kay Telstra, meron, marami. You can Google it, and there is one article on the existing collaboration between Smart, parang kay nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng isang operator, but it is a US-based operator that also provides towers in the sky. Marami, hindi naman si HAPS lang. I think si Makabalang, parang nasa si AT&T and Verizon pa niya, mga customers niya. But I forgot the name, but you can Google it. Merong article on smart. Ang keyword yan, smart, tsaka tower in the sky. And you can see the name of the company.
Okay, thank you po. Okay, we will answer last 3 questions. Okay lang po, sir? Ted?
Kahit ano, walang problema kasi promotional nga to, Johan
okay.
First time kasi na, siguro first time to sa iba na ito yung una nilang nalaman na meron palang HAPS.
Oo nga po, first time ko din po nadinig to. Thank you
We
po.
can even improve the presentation kasi this is especially designed for MISAMIS Occidental tsaka SOCCSKSARGEN lang.
Wow.
Ito yung parang experimental, but I am thinking of getting all the technical aspect of the HAPS, including how to launch, how the radios are going to be attached to the aircraft, something like that. It will be an expanded presentation. Thank you, Madam Velez. First time nga. Kasi biruin mo yan, dito pa sa Mindanao ang natas to study on the entry of HAPS in the Philippines.
Galing nga, sir.
Oh, ano to? Para lang for the love of MOC tsaka SOCCSKSARGEN.
Wow, I feel so honored to be the first one to see your presentation, Sir Ted. We will continue with the next questions po. Okay, so this is from Engineer Aimer Ilbosa. Sir, ano po bang initiative na ginagawa ng gobyerno para mapabilis ang implementation nito? Salamat.
Just like what I have said a while ago, there is a need for the ICT and NTC to develop a regulatory framework. How are you going to allow entry of HAPS and other similar technology in the Philippines? So that is very crucial as far as entry of HAPS. Ang maganda lang, we have people that are involved in the assignment of frequencies for HAPS kasi crucial ang spectrum We have people like USEC yung nabanggit ko kanina, who are the official delegates representing our country before the WRC 19. That's the latest conference of the World Radio Communication Conference. No? Since meron nang na-identify, and it so happened that in the Philippines, can be allocated and can be assigned. So, siguro, I'm pretty sure that if HAPS people will come in and they cannot just go here because they cannot do business 100%, kailangan nila ng partner, no? They are now going to discuss this with the authorities together with their partners. It could be a partner na meron din akong, hindi ko muna i-disclose kasi baka mamaya mapagalitan ako. They are into negotiation with one franchise holder, very known, who is into aircraft industry. Pero gusto nilang venture on telecommunication. So, pagka nag-partner to, they will ask authority from the government. And that will be the start of the deployment of HAPS in the Philippines.
Okay, so
isang maganda lang kasi dito, Joanne, maraming business model na hindi pwedeng i-share sa ibang lugar sa Pilipinas dahil walang connection.
Oo
So
po.
if this will be materialized yung HAPS, maraming business side ng ECE. Kasi may pupuntahan na sila kahit yung mga small and medium enterprise na kailangan ng internet connection, mapupuntahan na nila. 'Di ba?
Oo nga po. So parang kung nasa, for example, nasa bundok or nasa mga malalayong area, pwede nang mag-smart city po. Ano po, Sir
Yes,
Ted?
kasi tingnan yung possibilities, Joanna. Marami tayong areas that are into tourism. Pupunta sila sa mga bundok na, hindi na doon sa dagat, may mga bundok na. But again, the challenge is connectivity. So marami pwedeng maglagay ng kahit anong application doon sa isang lugar, pero again, limiting because of the issue on connectivity. But with the HAPS, palagay ko ang daming maisip na application ng mga ACEs natin. Excited kasi ako sa yung future ng ECEs natin with the HAPS. Parang nag-complement talaga sa profession natin.
I agree po doon, Sir Ted. I think in relation to that, may question here from Engineer Carlo Amigable. While HAPS
si
emphasize
Guapo.
while HAPS emphasize the improvement in the coverage in telecoms, LTE and 5G, how about in terms of capacity? Number of subscribers po, I think yung parang number, how many subscribers can one HAPS occupy?
Meron silang hindi nila dinisclose kasi hindi pa nila pinakita yung inner yung technical specifications. But again, since this is going to be complementary on the existing, palagay ko kasi maraming radyo kasi malaki ang payload niya eh. Kung maraming radyo, marami din capacity. Kung malaki ang bandwidth mo doon sa isang radyo mo, malaki din ang capacity mo. Kasi dependent siya sa bandwidth. Ang isang radyo, ano yung bandwidth na naibigay sa kanya, that will also with direct correlation with the number of subscribers or users or the kind of bandwidth needed to a certain subscriber. So ang ibig sabihin nun, although hindi pa nga disclose, but it is very clear because of the payload of the HAPS that can accommodate several radios. So kasi dito sa tower, ilan bang nilalagay nating bandwidth? Depende kasi. Ina-adjust lang yan eh. Si Carlo magaling diyan. Pagka nandun yung mga kaibigan niya sa isang area, palalakihin niya yung bandwidth niya doon para walang problema sa Netflix.
Thank you, Sir Ted.
Yeah. Ano lang yan, it's a matter of yung configuration ng mga radyo mo sa isang HAPS.
Apo. So may question din po dito from Engineer Jusmat Rico. So how many HAPS would cover the whole Philippines and how much would be one HAPS cost?
Hindi pa na-disclose, no? Pero if you are going to, hindi lang naman kasi siya ang the only provider eh. As I have said, there are several providers. And competition will somehow change the competition market or the pricing of the hub. But to cover the Philippines, every 200 kilometers in diameter, every 200, meron kang one HAPS. Another 200 coverage, another one HAP. So every 200 in diameter, may isang station.
Thank you po, Sir Ted. I guess you're down to last two questions. From again, Engineer Stevan Di Pedro. Existing drones nowadays rely on GPS signal. Are there drones now that are HAPS ready?
Wala, ang sabi kasi ni HAPS, wala kang i-reconfigure. Wala kang i-reconfigure o whatever your CPE, customer premises, kasi si drone pwede rin yung CPE. Wala nang reconfiguration. What you have, it can be given access to the HAPS, including GPS. Maganda pa nga siya dahil 3G na siya Dahil kita mo na lahat.
Thank you so much po, Sir Ted. I guess you're down to the last question. We have last question from Engineer Nilo Mangubat. Sir, if these companies are for profit, could this happen in the near future that HAPS could also concentrate on areas that are profitable?
As I have said, pagka nilagay mo si HAPS, the whole 200 kilometers in diameter can be provided access. Hindi kagaya sa traditional way of providing access, 3 to 10 kilometers lang per tower. Meron pang signal degradation pagka lumayo ka na sa tower as you go away from the tower, no? So may limitation at saka hindi sila maglalagay ng tower kung konti lang ang subscribers. Pero si HAPS kasi wala nang discrimination. Dahil hindi naman pwede niyang i-block a certain quadrant. Pagka naglagay siya sa taas, isasabog niya within the 200 kilometers ang signal. So walang discrimination even in areas that are very remote. Kaya sabi nga niya, even islands, even in far away areas in the mountain that needs IoT, smart farming, can utilize the HAPS as their access point. Walang discrimination. Ang pinaka-goal ni HAPS, yung company goal nila is to provide internet access all over the world. Walang patid kahit doon sa dagat. Sa dagat mismo, lalagyan nila ng HAPS para ma-connect na lahat. At saka madaling i-deploy dahil ano mo lang all you have to do is to launch, have a flight. Yung flight mo, i-record mo lang, i-program mo lang in such a way that it will have a coverage area that you intend to have.
Ayan, thank you so much po, Engineer Ted Benavista. Ang dami po namin natutunan for today's webinar and I am sure na lahat po dito ay siguro marami ding natutunan. And with that, we are going to the next part of our program, which is the giving of certificate to Engineer Ted Benavista. So, certificate of appreciation goes to Engineer Teodoro D. Benavista Jr., PECE. A round of virtual applause, please, for Engineer Ted. Yan, thank you so much, sir. This is for imparting his knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker during the IECEP SOCCSKSARGEN and MISAMIS Occidental Chapter collaboration webinar with the topic High Altitude Platform Station, the Future Communications Infrastructure in the Philippines. So given this 25th day of September 2021, signed by Engineer Tanya M. Osorio and Engineer Ramel Resentes. Yan, virtual of applause naman po for Sir Ted. Thank you so much, Sir Ted.
Maraming salamat sa lahat. And after this, I will be sending the presentation. It's quite large, pero it can be done.
Ay, thank you so much.
Maraming salamat sa lahat. Pati yung ano pala, para ma-share mo na yung invitation ng SMART on the cybersecurity.
Ay, opo, yes po. So we will be posting those in our respective Facebook pages. So kindly hit like if you want to be updated with the latest host from IECEP SOCCSKSARGEN, also IECEP MISAMIS Occidental Chapter. Thank you so much, Sir Ted, for your time.
Maraming salamat din and may God bless us all. Ingat lahat, lalo na kay Delta.
Yes po.
Regards, Carlo, my partner sa SOCCSKSARGEN. Yung magandang kwento, paano na-form si SOCCSKSARGEN. Maraming salamat sa lahat.
Thank you, Sir Ted. So please stand by for some few announcement. And for those who want the attendance, we have already put that in the chat box. Paki-click na lang po yung link for the attendance to all participants. And yeah, we will be sending you the PDF. I-try po namin na ma-send po sa lahat yung mga presentation from Sir Ted. And we'll look forward to it. And also, if hindi nyo pa na-like yung page namin, we have our IECEP SOCCSKSARGEN and IECEP MISAMIS Occidental Chapter. So we'll be posting some information there. And okay, for our closing remarks, please help me welcome Engineer Kimberly Tigaturian. Ma'am? Wait lang po tayo ha. Hello, nandyan po ba si Ma'am Kimberly? Or anyone from the host na lang po? Okay. Si Engineer Resantes po, closing remarks for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanne. On behalf of IECEP MISAMIS Occidental and IECEP SOCCSKSARGEN, we would like to thank first and foremost our speaker, Engineer Ted, for giving us the honor to be the first chapters to be giving the seminar for HAPS for the High Altitude Platform Station. And I would like to congratulate the officers from both SOCCSKSARGEN and MISAMIS Occidental for a job well done. Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending this afternoon's webinar.
Yan, thank you so much, Engineer Resantes. And also thank you, Sir Ted, for that wonderful presentation. Ay, ang galing. Kami pa talaga yung first time.
Oo nga. Pero, yun na nga. Dahil medyo maganda nga siya, no? Pati ako na mangha ako sa sa capability niya.
Yes. All right, thank you so much. Now, we go on to some announcements po. And by the way, for those who wants their attendance signed, please click the chat box, may link doon for the attendance and also for the evaluation for today's webinar. Thank you so much po. And some announcements, yeah, we are on back-to-back with ECE Career Caravan 2 today po, this afternoon. The Electronics Engineers of the Philippines, incorporated through the Education and Student Affairs Committee, organized by IECEP SOCCSKSARGEN. They are live via Facebook and also in Zoom. And also, I would like to announce that we have our, please lend your support to Engineer Beatriz Peralta for Lakambini Ingenieria 2021. And for support or pledges, you may send it to GCash number 0919-999-7377. Lakambini Ingenieria, organized by the Philippine Technological Council Women Engineers Network, is a fundraising activity and personality development quest for professional women engineers. The title of Lakambini Ingenieria is based on 50% from fundraise and 50% overall pageant performance. Okay, so this is this is the Facebook page. Pakipusuan po yung picture po ni Ma'am, ni Engineer Beatrice. And also paki-share po. Thank you so much. And that ends our webinar for today. Maraming salamat po everyone for making it happen. And thank you so much for our over 400 participants for today. And I would also like to thank our ICEP SOCCSKSARGEN for collaborating with us, ICEP MISAMIS OCCIDENTAL. Yeah, thank you so much po then, Sir Ted, for that wonderful presentation. And for everyone, keep safe and good afternoon. Thank you po. Hi, hello po. Before we go, I'm sorry. Before we go, can you please open your cameras for our photo shoot? Sorry po. Ay, paki-open po everyone. Thank you. Photo shoot lang po tayo. Sorry. Ay. Okay. Paki-open po ng mga cameras niyo po for our photo shoot. Sorry na. I almost forgot. Okay, are we ready now, Sir Ramel?
Yeah, okay. But I
Okay.
can.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Page 1. Okay, smile.
Joanne, excuse.
Okay.
Can you see the participants?
Wait. Na po, sir, ha? Yes, sir. Yeah, okay. Are we ready na po
Yeah, I
for
think
the
it's okay.
screenshot? Okay, ready na?
Okay.
Sir Ramel? Okay. Going to...
Okay, for page 1.
Okay, page 1. We have 15 pages, by the way. Page 1, okay. Page 2.
Wait, I'll have to open the word for.
Joanne, napadala ko na yung yung presentation
Okay,
kay Tanya at saka kay Ramel.
okay, sir.
Okay, page 2, smile.
Okay, page 2, smile.
Medyo mahaba pa. Okay, page 2, 5, 3, 2, 1. Page 3, smile. Next page, smile. Next page. We have around 10. Next page. And last page. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Keep safe.
Thank you po. Thank you po sa lahat. Yung attendance po natin.
Joanne,
Yes po.
kindly announce pala ang cybersecurity caravan sa 28, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Okay po. Yes po. We'll be sending that post po then, Sir Ted. So, meron pong cybersecurity caravan on September 28. We'll just post the details sa Facebook page po namin. Thank you po, Sir Ted.